So picture this. Thousands of people are stranded on a remote island. Their luxury villas, they've been replaced by rain-soaked disaster relief tents. Now this wasn't a movie, this was the Fyre Festival, a mega event that promised an absolute paradise, but delivered a total nightmare. And you know, it's a huge reminder that for every incredible Olympic opening ceremony we see, there's the potential for a complete and utter disaster. So, what's the secret? What separates a triumph from a travesty? Let's get into it. It all kicked off with a simple orange tile on Instagram. But this wasn't just some random post. Oh no, this was a brilliantly executed social media blitz, using supermodels and influencers to sell an absolute dream, the Fyre Festival. I mean, the promise was insane, right? An ultra-exclusive music festival on a private island, gourmet food, luxury yachts, A-list celebrities. It was this irresistible fantasy, and thousands of people completely bought into it.
But that dream, it turned into a nightmare fast. As one person who was there said, it was like something out of The Hunger Games. Instead of those luxury villas, people found themselves in this chaotic tent city with soaked mattresses and everyone just scrambling for food. And that gourmet cuisine they were promised? Well, it turned into this now infamous cheese sandwich in a foam box. It's become this pathetic, perfect symbol of all the festival's broken promises.
Look, the Fyre Festival is pretty much a textbook case of a mega event gone horribly, horribly wrong. But to really get why it failed so spectacularly, we need to look at the massive gap between what was promised and what actually happened. And this is where the story of Fyre becomes a super important lesson for any city, any organization that ever dares to dream big.
So on one side, you have the fantasy, private jets, incredible meals, supermodels on yachts, the whole deal. And on the other side, the grim reality, just chaos, total confusion, and yep, those cheese sandwiches. The Fyre Festival wasn't just a letdown, it was a dangerous, irresponsible failure to provide even the most basic human needs.
Okay, so how do you go from a chaotic island nightmare to a flawlessly run urban spectacle? Well, the answer might just be in Singapore. It's a city that has basically perfected the art of the mega event. Every single year, it transforms its own streets into a high-octane racetrack for the Formula One Grand Prix. And honestly, it's a masterclass in planning, precision, and profit.
This number right here, this is a huge piece of Singapore's success story. It's the average revenue per available hotel room, what they call RevPAR, during the Grand Prix weekend. And at over 700 Singapore dollars, it just shows the unbelievable economic punch this event packs. We're not just talking about filling hotel rooms. This is about maximizing every dollar and turning a race into a citywide economic tidal wave.
Just try to imagine it. A city where pretty much every single hotel room is booked, the restaurants are just buzzing with energy, and the streets are electric with excitement. That's Singapore during the Grand Prix. The whole city is firing on all cylinders. And man, what a contrast to the desperate, desolate scenes at Fyre Festival. So what's the secret ingredient? What turns a mega event into a golden goose? So what is that secret sauce? Well, it really boils down to the 5 C's. See, Fyre had a killer concept, no doubt, but it completely fell apart on coordination and control. Singapore, on the other hand, is an absolute master of all 5. It's a pretty simple framework, but it's powerful, and it can literally make or break any mega event. But what if an event can be both a huge win and a total disaster at the same time? That's kind of the paradox of the Olympic Games. It's this massive global spectacle that can transform a city for better or for worse. To really wrap our heads around this complicated legacy, we need to look at 2 very different games, Barcelona '92 and Rio '16. Barcelona '92 is like the stuff of urban planning legend. The city used the Olympics as a catalyst to completely reinvent itself. We're talking new parks, new beaches, new public spaces. It was this model that Rio 2016 tried to copy. And, you know, in some ways, they did okay. They built new infrastructure, spruced up the port area, but all those achievements were overshadowed by a much darker side. Forced evictions, police violence, and this growing feeling that the games were really just for the rich, not for the people of Rio. Can you imagine creating a masterpiece only to watch someone else take it and twist it into something you don't even recognize? That's pretty much what happened to Jordi Borja, the visionary guy behind the Barcelona model. When he saw what was happening in Rio, he was apparently horrified. He saw his dream of a more inclusive, democratic city being taken over by corporate interests and real estate developers. It was a total betrayal of everything he'd worked for. But what happens when the party's over? That's the question Barcelona is still dealing with, decades after the '92 Games. The city's amazing transformation came with a hefty price tag, skyrocketing rents, streets packed with tourists, and this feeling that the city has kind of lost its soul. It's a sobering reminder that the legacy of a mega event isn't just about shiny new stadiums. It's about the people who have to live with the consequences long after all the athletes have gone home.
So, you've built the stadiums, you've planned the epic opening ceremony, but have you thought about where everyone's going to sleep? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? For any host city, it's a challenge that can make or break the whole thing, because if you can't find a bed for every head, you are setting yourself up for an absolute logistical nightmare.
Vancouver is a city that is already on the edge. Its housing market is a pressure cooker. We're talking some of the highest prices in the world. Now imagine just pouring gasoline on that fire. That's exactly what the 2026 World Cup could do. It's a mega event that's threatening to push Vancouver's already strained infrastructure right to its breaking point.
70,000. That's not just a number. It represents thousands of shattered dreams. It's fans who've saved up for years to see their team play, only to find they're completely priced out of the city. I mean, it's a recipe for frustration, for disappointment, and for a seriously tarnished reputation for a city that really prides itself on being hospitable.
You can already see the dominoes starting to fall. Sky-high hotel prices will push fans to stay away, and that's going to cost the city millions in lost revenue. And the damage to Vancouver's reputation? That could be permanent. This isn't just about a few unhappy tourists. This is about the long-term economic health and image of the entire city.
Vancouver's housing crisis is really just one piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. The 2026 World Cup is a logistical monster, spanning 3 countries and 16 different cities. And if there's one thing that could bring this whole massive party to a grinding halt, it's the simple act of getting from point A to point B. You know, the Copa America was supposed to be a warm-up, a chance to iron out the kinks before the big show in 2026. Instead, it was a 5-alarm fire. The transportation system pretty much collapsed under the strain. It left fans stranded, frustrated, and really angry. It was a chilling preview of what could happen on a much, much larger scale in just 2 years.
A D-. Just let that sink in for a second. The United States, one of the richest, most powerful countries on the planet, has a public transportation system that is barely passing. And now we're asking that same system to handle this massive wave of fans for the World Cup? It's a recipe for disaster. It really is a ticking time bomb that's set to go off in 2026. And the warning signs are everywhere you look. In Kansas City, it was a sea of cars, creating total gridlock. In New Jersey, you had a ghost town of stranded fans left behind after the match. These are not small, isolated incidents. They're a glimpse into a future where the world's biggest party is brought to a complete standstill by a broken transportation system.
So, where does that leave us? Are mega events a blessing or a curse? The answer, it seems, is both. They absolutely have the power to transform cities, to inspire whole generations, and to create these unforgettable moments of human connection. But they also have the power to exploit, to exclude, and to leave a trail of broken promises behind them. As we count down to 2026, we have a choice to make. Will we learn from the mistakes of the past, or are we just destined to repeat them on an even grander scale? The future of the beautiful game and the cities that host it really does hang in the balance.